Hi, welcome to Enter the Bunker, where we launch you into thriving. Each week we talk about a different virtue that can be used as a building brick to build your own personal bunkers. We share personal stories, as well as tips and tricks to help you thrive instead of survive. So sit down, relax, and enter the bunker.
Hello, and welcome to Enter the Bunker. This week's building brick is strength. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we're going to go over the meaning of strength. The inner power to withstand whatever comes, endurance in the midst of tests. The inner power to withstand whatever comes, endurance in the midst of tests. So endurance, that's like the drive, right? Endurance. It's kind of like your drive.
Well, endurance is to endure.
Oh,
so
right.
You need to be able to continue through something. Right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So think of it like fuel in your tank.
Yeah.
To be able to keep going.
Okay.
Right. The inner power to withstand whatever comes. That's
like your inner strength. Everyone always talks about inner strength.
Everybody talks about that.
I'm pretty sure I even just said that. I need some inner strength.
Yeah.
And then I'm the inner power. All right. Let's go over some quotes here. The first one. A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. Christopher Reeve, Superman.
Whoa.
The second one, strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strength. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator. Where there is no struggle, there is no strength. Oprah Winfrey. Simple but delightful. And finally, you never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. Bob Marley. I like that one. That's my favorite quote.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just, you never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. Like I guess you always have a choice, but I don't know. I just feel like during hard times, I just never thought I could do something sometimes. And then you get to that point, and what else do you have to do? You just have to do it.
You just do it.
Yeah.
And then you find that strength.
Yeah.
My favorite was Arnold Schwarzenegger's. Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strength. So when you go through hardships and you decide not to surrender, that is strength.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And that is true because that's how you develop, that's how you discover your strength. Like you just said, you go through those hardships and then you decide not to give up and you push through it. That's how you know that you have that strength, and then it keeps developing. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, used to be Mr. Olympia. He was a famous bodybuilder before he became an actor.
Yeah.
And he knows all about building strength, right? So it's all, if you think about just bodybuilding, which is what I used to do when I was younger. It really is like you're constantly pushing yourself beyond, and then you can't give up. Like if you just you lifted a heavy weight and you're just like, oh, I'm so tired, and you put it down, you're never going to discover how strong you are.
Right.
But then you just you go through the hardship of oh, this is so hard, and you push through it, and then you're just like, wow, I've got that strength.
Like people always talk about their PBs, like their personal bests and
their
stuff
personal
like
bests.
that.
Yeah,
so
right.
they're always wanting to strive to beat that. So
that's right.
And you need the strength to do that.
And for a lot of people, if they don't develop, if they decide to give up, like he's talking about, if they decide to surrender, then they never really discover their inner, what kind of inner strength they could potentially have.
Yeah.
So it's a very important building brick because without that, any kind of hardships or any kind of issues that we have in life, and we just fold, if we just fold.
How do you
at
fold? What would be an example of folding?
Well, let's see.
Because I either think you either do it or you die. So I either have the strength or I'm dead. That's what's in my head.
If you have that kind of urgency, then that will help you to be able to actually push on and actually find the inner strength, right?
Because there's no medium there for me. That's why I was wondering what the fold was.
But some people have this concept of, oh, well, I'll go with the flow, and if it doesn't work out, well, maybe I'll just do something else. Kind of a very lackadaisical, like, I'm just going to give up before I even try.
Right.
If it doesn't go my way, then at the first sign of difficulty, I give up and I'm just going to go to something else. So in other words, they take the path of least resistance. So to fold is basically to be like, well, that didn't work out as soon as I had some kind of resistance. I'm just going to go another way. Right. And they just keep going that way through life. Next thing you know, life dumps you at the lowest point. Like that's what happens when if you think about just in nature and what happens inside of a flowing river or a stream, right? It flows down. And if you can simply go with the flow, you're just going to end up at the lowest point there is, right? And that's where everything goes to die. But when you have the strength and you think about things that are living in those streams, it's actually like you see the fish that actually like swim against the stream, right? And then they move up until they get into higher stream. But for people, basically, that's folding, is where as soon as they get a little bit of resistance, they turn around, they go, no, I'm not going to do this. And then they go to something else and they never discover what kind of strength they could have had.
Yeah. And I feel like the more you practice it, the more you realize that it's actually in you. Cause like I said, like I'm thinking back to myself personally, like just certain things that you went through, you never thought that you would have the strength, and you got to kind of reflect back on those times because you got through it and you're like, I did it.
Yeah.
So you can do it again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like muscle memory.
Yes.
To go back to Schwarzenegger.
Exactly.
Because like once you know that you can lift a certain weight, your body actually responds and like doesn't have a problem lifting it, even though it might have been something that was hard a year ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. All right. Life is tough, but congratulations, you've made it this far. By doing so, you have just demonstrated tremendous inner strength. Life comes at you hard and fast, and it isn't always easy, but you withstood the tests. You got the best of the trials and tribulations, and the strength you have in you deserves an applause. Having and growing inner strength is an essential skill. It's necessary for everything from carrying out tasks to achieving your goals. Without it, it is difficult to get started with anything, and it's impossible to finish. Working to grow your inner strength will do wonders for you in the long run. Just like going to the gym to develop your physical strength and grow muscles, working at your inner strength will increase your inner muscles and give you the strength to persevere. And learning to stick with it and fight through the obstacles and will give you an enormous state of satisfaction when you get through the hard part, especially when you look back and reflect on how far you've come. So true. Like that just like summed up what we were saying. It's
just like what we just said.
Without
it, it is difficult to start anything, and it's impossible to finish anything.
And then here too, like learning to stick with it, fight through it, the obstacles gives you the satisfaction, and it makes you like want to do it again, and makes you, like I said, you either fight or die, like strength or die. Yeah. So interesting. I like that. Do you think you have pretty good inner strength?
So
I feel like it can be because I'm thinking of certain situations, but I feel like inner strength is also like you can reflect that on so many different things, not just like what we're talking about. Like you're talking about working out and body, and I guess I'm talking about life in general. But I'm thinking more work, like inner strength for work and like keeping promises and stuff. Like that's inner strength, right?
That is inner strength, and you sometimes I can see it, like you said, applying to everything.
Yeah.
You can apply it to everything in life with like where you need inner strength to be able to follow through on things, right? If you find yourself in a situation where I think, for example, procrastination is a sign of a lack of inner strength in a particular area.
Yes.
So then what ends up happening is that you put it off, and then the next thing you know, you've got a problem, and then you end up trying to get away from it. It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So then you're being tested. You're being tested with being able to have the inner strength to actually see it through, right? And that's what happens in life all the time. You're always going to be presented with these things, and you need to be able to see it through. How sooner or later it catches up with you. And so I think that, as far as inner strength goes, you want to make it happen sooner than later.
Yes.
And I think that by giving it priority, you can ensure that you're able to move on to the next thing, right? Because there's going to be other tests and there's other difficulties that come along. And it's either going to hit you harder if you keep on compiling these things, or it's going to be more of an, I don't want to say easier, but it's going to be more, I'd say more, you appreciate it more when you're able to take these things one at a time.
Right.
You know, you're really able to take them in and be able to see your accomplishments more vividly than if you allow for life to continue to pile on and pile on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And at the same time, you're reflecting on that. If they keep piling on and then finally someday you're like, okay, I got to get some of this pile off. But then you only give like 70 or 80% to what you do because you're just trying to get rid of the pile.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
You make mistakes.
Yeah. You make mistakes and you're not giving your 100% to everything. So yeah. All right. So join us next time when we discuss how to grow your inner strength for part 2. And we'll see you there.
We'll see you there.
Thank you for listening to Enter the Bunker. Make sure to follow us on Instagram where you can share your story and also look at behind the scenes of how we make our podcast. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube by simply searching Enter the Bunker. Tune in next time as we launch into thriving.